All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to do some watercolor painting. Welcome to the studio this evening. Hoping to paint this dandy of a picture over there. That is Angel's Landing in beautiful Zion National Park. I've been there many a times and loved it each time. That is one of my favorite hikes out to the end of Angel's Landing out there. So I thought I would start with a painting of that. This is as a request of Bicycle Repairman. Not that Bicycle Repairman said you've got to paint Zion National Park, but maybe I should do a landscape since it's been a while since I've done that. So here it is. This is what I've chosen. I have pre-drawn Zion here on my page. I'm using Fabriano Studio watercolor paper. Again, got a big stack of it, so I'm just working through that. The brushes I'm going to be using, the same ones I've been using for a while now, are my King Art brushes. And my paints over here on my right-hand side are my favorite M. Graham paints. And I'm just going to jump right in. I don't know who's here. Liza is here. Looks like Natalie is here. Anybody else who's here, say hello. I'd love to talk to people while I'm painting. Would love to hear from you. I'm just going to get a little puddle of blue going here, really light for the sky. I don't want to do too much with the sky here. So I'm using a little bit of Cerulean Blue for my sky. And I'm just going to turn my page over and start putting on my sky. Is it Angel's, or this is Angel's Landing, Natalie, in Zion National Park. Well, I haven't been here in a long time, but I've been to the park quite a few times. I've been out here. I was trying to guess how many times I've been out to the end of Angel's Landing here, and I would guess, if I had to put an estimate on it, I would say I've been out there at least a half a dozen times, probably more. I can't say for certain. It's a lovely hike out there. It's a little treacherous. If you've never been there before, it is not for the lighthearted, as much of your journey, or at least the end of your journey, I guess I should say, is out on the end of this giant rock here. I'll turn it off, or turn this around in a second. There we go. Just a simple little sky up there. So you walk up from the canyon floor. Excuse me. Up through a couple of slot canyons, and up Walter's Wiggles, and which are just a bunch of switchbacks that help you get up the mountain. And you get to the top of that, and you get to this. It's just a giant rock structure that extends out, and they've got this chain that runs out there. It runs most of the way out there, which is somewhat helpful, and sometimes they have available for you, and sometimes it's not. But I remember walking out there, and you can see from the picture how far down it goes. It's probably, I don't know, a quarter mile if you fell from the top of it. And walking on the trail, and I can look on this side and see straight down, and I can look on this side and see straight down, and the pathway is probably only, I don't know, 2.5 feet wide, 3 feet wide in some places. Not very wide. So you'd better be paying attention to what you're doing. Eliza, you're saying the sky where you're at was a beautiful cerulean blue yesterday. can you, if you would you package that and send that to me? Because I'm not sure I've seen the sky in 2 days. I think all I've seen in the past 2 days is the bottoms of a lot of clouds. It's continuing to rain here in California. I'm not complaining. I'm not complaining. It's been so dry for so long. I'm happy to get some water, but it's a lot. Natalie, you've never been to Zion. It's probably not too different for you than where you live. I'm trying to think of what I need to do next here. It's beautiful. Oh, Zion's actually fairly interesting in that half of it looks like this, right? Like the reference photo. Uh, red rock and mountainous and craggly, with these beautiful valley floors. And the other half looks like this windswept rock, and it's all like wind blown and I don't know, just different shapes. And the rocks seem to be slightly different colors. I'm waiting just a little bit for this all to dry. Maybe what I should do, I guess it's kind of there. I'll just go ahead and get started. We'll fix anything that we need to get to. Is I want to paint this whole rock, the main structure here, as one. I want to put that on here. I guess I'm using a fairly good sized brush to do this. I've got plenty of paint I'm working with. As I was setting up to do this, it dawned on me it has been quite a while since I've done a landscape, and I kind of I shouldn't say, I almost didn't remember what I need to do to get my distant hills back here. The ones back here, I had to sit down and think, what's the best way to do that? I've kind of forgotten. It's been so long, but I'm just going to paint right over that. I think I can remember how to do that. I think it'll be fine. Any questions anybody has? It seems to be awfully quiet tonight. I know we've only been going for a few minutes, but I don't want to. I'm happy to do all the talking, but I don't want to have to do all the talking. Anybody have anything they want to talk about? Any questions we want to pose? Anything I can answer for you all? I'll say that actually I've painted a little bit in between these streams. Typically I'll do some painting on, I don't know, Saturday or Sunday. It didn't seem to happen this week because it's been rainy and cold, and I haven't really wanted to come out into the studio, and so I haven't. But yesterday and Monday night, I did spend a little bit of time out here, and it seems like a little funny thing to say, but I was painting donuts. Like, the big Homer Simpson donuts, the big pink donuts that you see with the sprinkles on it and everything like that. For whatever reason, I just thought that'd be kind of a neat thing to paint. So I started painting some pink donuts. Natalie, you added Potter's Pink and Cerulean Blue to your plein air tin this week. The Superstition Mountains here could use Potter's Pink quite... Okay, Potter's Pink. How pink is Potter's Pink? Asking for a friend. I don't... Is it like... It must not be like a super hot pink, like... what's the color I'm trying to think of? Like opera pink. And Liza, you added it to your must-have list of colors. All right, I'll have to look at, see what Potter's Pink. Is it now I'm trying to suss out from the name. It looks very light to me. Okay. It's an earthy granulated color. Okay, so I would think, and without knowing, I'm guessing based upon the name, Potter's Pink would be like a, not Potter like Harry Potter or something, but Potter as in a pot, like a terracotta pot. Like it's a, like I would think based upon that name, it's an earthy pink, almost, you know, like a pink. It's got some ochre in it, right, to cut down the the brightness, the hotness of that pink. Am I thinking about that correctly? It's an earthy granulating color, very old, very old. Can't be too far off. I mean, I can be. Just not sure that I am. All right, I would tell you guys what colors I'm mixing here on my palette. These were left over from my my donut painting adventure. You think it was named after a painter? Okay, could be. Probably not Harry Potter though. What I'm thinking. Although maybe. Stranger things have probably happened. I hate not having an art store to go to. It's a, yeah, when you try to find color online, then you're looking through your uh, monitor or your screen, and you're hoping that those colors are just right. Uh, it's definitely it's definitely a different thing to hunt for colors on your own rather than uh, being able to go somewhere and find them and just look right at them. Sure. All right, I've got some. I'm just gonna actually. I'm just gonna block in. I think the rest of this color. I've got some down here. We actually have in my little town. Try to pump up my little town, my little corner of the world here a little bit. Not that I want everybody moving here, but it's pretty nice. We have our own little art store called Art Central. I don't get there quite as much as I'd like to, but I do. I when I do get there, I should say. When I do, the first thing I do is I go right over to the watercolor section and I pick up all the tubes and I look at them. Probably the same thing you do. Pick up all the tubes, you look at them. You pick up the Daniel Smith, you pick up the Winsor Newton, you pick up the, I don't know, whatever other colors they have there. What does this one look like? What does it look like next to that one? How big is the tube? What does it cost per milliliter? I do all of that kind of stuff. Susie, hi all. Actually, Potter's Pink was named after a potter who developed it. It's a ceramic glaze color too. Oh, interesting. Oh, it's super interesting. From Jackson, it was invented by an unknown potter in Staffordshire at some point in the 1790s. Wow. It was introduced as a pink color shortly afterwards. Wow. Its impact in the field of watercolor was significant, and for years it was the only light, fast pink pigment available. Wow. Wow. That's pretty stinking cool. Um, that's pretty amazing, actually. Let's see. I've got a couple of extra spots I want to put in some color here, and now that I've done it, I think I want to put in a little bit more color here and there. I don't know. That's probably good. I don't want to get this side over here. I should say, at this point, there's quite a bit of weirdness with these mountains, mesas. I'm not sure what to call them in Zion. Probably I'm not pronouncing it exactly right. The natives probably call it Zion or whatever. Um, they're interesting. Whoops, let me get that on here because there's all this red rock, right? You see, I'm obviously painting quite a bit of red rock here. But one of the more interesting things is that rock, as it uh, as it goes up, the higher up it goes, the whiter it gets, which is, I think, such a weird thing that they would do that. So you'll see if you go there, they have a big feature, much like this one back here that we'll get to in just a second, called the throne, the Emperor's Throne, or some such thing, the Great Throne, something like that. And it's this red rock mountain with this white top on it. It looks really fine. Let's see, I have Winsor Newtons, but I hear my Mary's is wonderful. You say, what did we ever do before Google? That is a great question because that's our first thought for everything. It's just to Google it. We'll look it up and we'll Google it. All right, there we go. I got a rock on the side. That's wet. This is drying. I can now spend some time way back here. And I'm kind of not kidding when I say I had to think about how I want to paint all this back here. It's been quite a while, and I've kind of forgotten how to paint. Not how to, but the why you might want to paint some of this in different stages back here. Really had to think about it again. I think what I'm going to do is do a light layer on the way back stuff, and I'll bring that all the way up here, and then we'll just continue to add a light layer and a light layer and a light layer on top of it, and we'll build it up, and each one will make it look a little closer and a little closer, and we'll try that. So here goes. Oh, and I've just put my hand. Here goes. And let's see how this is going to go. Maybe I should turn this upside down. I've got 7 people here, at least by my count. Everybody who's here, hello. Thank you for coming. If I didn't say it, if you didn't say anything, Susie, I'm not sure, Susie, if I said hello, if I missed it, I'm sorry. Thank you all for joining me this evening. I know I seem to say it all the time, but I want to say thank you because I really do have a lot of fun painting on Wednesday evenings. I get out of work, excuse me, and I feel like I want to rush home and get set up. I do a little bit of setup, but not that much, and get all set up so we can all concentrate on what we're doing and not have to worry about, or me anyways, not have to worry about figuring out are things going to work in the studio? Do I need to do this before everybody gets here? Will people be able to see the reference photo? Will they be able to see what I've done in these different areas? Do I have this camera set up? This camera set up right? Is the mic working? All these things, because I don't want to miss anything when I come in here on Wednesdays, because it's gotten to be such a nice thing to do. All right, and then while this is still wet, I'm just going to add a little bit of green. We've got some dark color in some of the green. I'm just going to drop some of that in back here. And I'm just going to let really the kind of see basically where it might be at. I'm going to let the paint take a lot of this color off of here and do whatever it wants to with it. There we are. Now that's way back there. I'm going to add a little bit more to this, but those hills are way back there. Natalie, Natalie, you still think you should all meet up somewhere around here to paint? Let's do it. I would suggest, let's see, I would suggest we wait until like May or April or May. Excuse me, it'll be warm enough then. Won't be cold. The sun will still be here. There won't be much cloud cover. It'll be good. It'll be nice. Yeah, everybody come on over in April, May time frame. That'll be fantastic. I think we should do that. Susie, you're answering the question. What did you ever do before Google? You suffered with ignorance, or you hit the World Book Encyclopedia. You went and got the giant encyclopedia and started thumbing through it. Eliza, you used to read the World Book Encyclopedia for cakes. Oh my God. That's I don't know that I've ever read the World Book Encyclopedia just for kicks, but it kind of sounds like fun. I probably did it, as a kid. I had some assignments or something in school. I'm sure I read it like that. I don't know that I read it for kicks. I don't know how to access to one to read for kicks. Okay, let's see. I've got a few things we can do. I've got this area down here, which is all on the canyon floor, and it's way down there. We can kind of paint some of that, or I'm just trying to feel if this is dry enough. We've got this series of rocks and branches and sticks and twigs here. I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to hit this little bit over here, which does have some nice greens in it. This is where I really get to use my Cobalt Green, which is, kind of a deserty green. It's not super bright. So really, it's a lovely color. And then we put some ochre and some blue in here for the river that runs down here. Might be too much. Let's see. This all comes up here. This is the part, I'm not exactly sure how this is all going to go. I'm being honest with you. The whole riverbed down here kind of goes like that. It's got this greenery that goes around it. Trying not to paint like super tight and force the paint to go in any specific area. I mean, I know where I want it to end up. I'm trying not to be too forceful about it. But I want it to kind of flow a bit on its own. Trying to be a little less hands-on, I guess you could say, with the paint. Let it do some of what it wants to do on its own. Somebody has asked me a question here. Liza's going to hit me with another zinger question, I know. There we go. Just give me one quick second, Liza, and I'm going to be happy to answer your question. Deep shadow in here. We're going to come back and we're going to add some really deep shadow in here. A little puddle coming down that I don't want. There we go. We've set the basis for a big shadow coming off of this hill. Oh, I like it. I like it. I like it. I like it. Okay. Michael, there's a place I go used to go every year for vacation. I stay at the same inn. I'm in heaven because they have world books. Oh my God. That's actually, I would probably do it on vacation. They have a world book encyclopedia on the shelves. Nobody does that anymore. Nobody, nobody. Sadly, my parents had to leave high school very early due to my oldest brother's arrival. So they invested in encyclopedias because they really wanted us to have the advantage. That's actually pretty cool. I'll tell you a cool story. I think it's pretty cool. You can tell me what you think. My high school principal. Right now, imagine I grew up in the middle of nowhere in Ohio. I mean, literally, middle of nowhere in Ohio. And not much of anything around. Cleveland was the closest city, right? If you wanted to go to Cleveland, at the time, that was about an hour and 20-minute drive away, right? You go to Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh was about the same, hour and a half, hour and 40 minutes, something like that, right? Nothing's very close. There's only 110 kids, 115 kids in my high school. In my high school, not my class, my high school. So when I tell you it's a small area in the middle of nowhere, it really was. So here's why I say all of that. My high school principal, Mr. Crawford. I doubt Mr. Crawford is listening, but Mr. Crawford, if you're listening, this is a shout out to you. He recognized that we probably weren't going to have a whole lot of ability living where I lived. I got a hair that's coming out. And he started asking people to come to our high school to give presentations. All right, cool, right? That's kind of a cool thing to do. If you've got a school full of kids and you want them to learn a whole bunch of stuff, ask people to come. Well, he did it without having a budget to pay for anybody to get here or to get there to talk to us, and no real plan on what would happen for people who did come and talk to us. And the response that we got was unbelievable. We had people from across the United States come and talk to us. We had the Saudi government. So the Saudi government came and spoke at our school and arranged to fly free of charge. I think it was 6 students and 4 of our faculty to Saudi Arabia, tour the country. They all met. They didn't meet the king. They met one or a couple of the princes that were there. Let's see. General Motors came and spoke to us. They put cars all through the halls in our high school. What else do we have? The Air Force came and spoke to us. A week long speaking engagement by the Air Force. Talked to us about whatever we had. God, I'm trying. We had musicians that came. We had politicians that came. Lots of politicians that came up from Washington. But yeah, you kind of expect that they might do that. But the cool thing was is that he recognized that, we're in the middle of nowhere in Ohio. All these kids that don't have access to a lot of things that you might have in a bigger city or something like that. And he just started asking questions, and everybody jumped on and helped out. Let's see. What a Saudi Arabia trip. Yeah. So, right. I want to say it was 10 people total. Like I said, I want to say it was 6 students and 4 faculty. Yep. Flights. They paid for the flights over to Saudi Arabia. They paid for the stay and all the food for everybody who was there. They paid for their trip back and all the transportation in country. I mean, they didn't have to do any of that. If they hadn't done any of that, nobody in the school would have thought any less of them. It's just whatever. I was like, man, that is really cool for somebody to do for a bunch of kids that, growing up for me, Saudi Arabia is just this, country in the Middle East is a million miles away or however long. I never would have given the country a second thought. It was really, I give him a lot of, Larry Crawford was his name. I give him a lot of credit for trying to do a lot of stuff like that. Yeah, it's such a gift to the students, right? So we had a competition to see who could go, and you had to write a paper, and then you had to give a speech, and all this stuff that you would normally ask kids to do to win something like that. I didn't take it nearly as seriously as I wish I had, or I would have been on the trip. I didn't get to go. I wasn't one of the students that went. But it was really cool. I remember when the Air Force came, they had, they came in on a Saturday or a Sunday, I don't know, sometime when we weren't at school, and they set up all kinds of stuff in the hallway, and then they would schedule in a time. And the really interesting thing, kind of revolutionary at the time, probably you wouldn't get so much traction even on it today, but one of the cool things is if you had an affinity to seeing one of the speeches, right, that somebody would have given, you could ask your instructor for whatever time that they were there. And almost exclusively, if you didn't have, an exam or something at the time, the teachers all said, "Yeah, you can go and watch the speech or whatever." We had different theme weeks. Some of them were cool. Some of them were a little whatever. Such a gift to the students. I know, right? It was really astounding. My favorite. I'm never going to forget this. This was unbelievable and stupid all at the same time. We had a local guy, who had gone on a trip to Florida, and why I can remember some of this, I don't have any idea. And he said he found what he thought was either a dog or a weird cat, right? And you probably know or can guess where this is going. It wasn't either. It was a lion, and he named the lion Wally the Lion. And Wally was locally famous. Everybody knew Wally. But there were some people who didn't like Wally because right? He's a lion living in a neighborhood, and that's probably a recipe for disaster. Probably. Anyways, um, he got taken to court to get rid of Wally, of course. And actually, they didn't take him to court to get rid of Wally. What they did was they started enacting all of these ordinances so that he wasn't able to keep Wally. And so one of the things that they said was you can't keep a wild animal in a fully enclosed, um, not container, enclosure. So this guy built a fully contained enclosure, um, you know, to house Wally the lion, and then they said, well, you can't do that for the purpose of housing a wild animal. So he he put a bucket in there and wrote on the bucket swimming pool. So then it wasn't housing a lion, it was an enclosure for a swimming pool. And then what his explanation was is he didn't want any neighborhood kids to come and trip and fall in a swimming pool. So he has an enclosure for a swimming pool. Okay, fine, right? You can probably see where some of this is going. Then they passed this resolution that you can't have, I don't know, something in the front of his house or in the back of his house. So he'd make a sign and put it on the back or the front, I forget which was, that said, this is the front of my house or this is the back of my house. And then he was taken to court about that because there are laws about what can be the front and what can't be the back. And anyways, the whole thing went on for a number of years. And of course, growing up, we're all rooting for Wally to be able to live there because as kids, why would you not, right? And they passed enough things, and finally it came to the point where he really had to give up Wally, and they went to pick him up, and he had moved him, and wouldn't tell anybody where he moved Wally to, right? So they took him to court over that. They wanted to get the lion out of the area, so they asked him. They have him in court, and he's under oath, and they're like, "Where did you take Lion? You're under oath to tell the truth, and tell us where he's at." And he went, "No." He just kept going, "No, I'm not going to tell you, because you're just going to go and you're going to take him and you're going to do whatever, and I'm just not going to tell you." He goes, "Yeah, but you have to. You're in court." And I was like, "No, I have to tell you the truth. The truth is, I don't want to tell you." So on for a couple of years, it was great. Okay, I have to plug this. Liza, my niece works for a college, and it's her job to find speakers for the students. She invited an amazing author who wrote an amazing book. It's called Heartland by Sarah Smarsh. Sarah Smarsh. Wow. It's a memoir of working hard and being broke in the richest country on earth. Yeah. Okay, that's America for a lot of people. She writes about her family. It's fabulous. Okay, cool. So everybody, yeah, check it out. Absolutely. I think there's a lot of that. People thinking they're going to live the American dream and finding out the American dream is pretty tough to come by. Liza, you said you read it in a day. You couldn't put it down. Even better. Let's see. What am I doing here? I want to put a little bit of color. That's way too much on here to give some definition between these hills, these mountains. But I don't want to take away too much of the color here. So I'm going to put this on a little bit and then try to draw this way out. Kind of like that. And now we've got a couple of different levels back there. Yes. nearly working the way I had planned. All right. So I guess that whole thing, how long has this gone? 40 minutes. 40 minutes, and I got almost all of my base color on. Let me move this over so you can see. I keep sliding over. I must be sitting in a different spot this evening. All right. I feel like my throat is getting dry. Like I've been talking for 40 minutes. Maybe I have. Let's see, Natalie, you say, I think you mentioned it last week that your nieces are writing and illustrating books. I believe you did. Also, my daughter's sister-in-law is an author. Wow. Seems to be a popular profession for young women now. That's fantastic. If Natalie, if you want to plug a book on here, go ahead. Why not? Give it a plug. Let's give them a little love. And while you're doing that, I'm going to think about what I want to do here because I want to start building up. I'm just going to tell you what I want to do. I want to start building up some of the shadows in here. So here's a shadow. Comes over here, and would have really helped if I had drawn all this in. This would have helped a lot. Let's see, and then this comes up over here. Shadow, shadow. Shadow like that. Okay. Still coming down. They're here. Let's see, I think I do have this shadow line on here. I'm going to drop a little bit of blue back in here, actually. That can be a little darker. Yeah, down here. All shadow down here. There we are. Michael, do you ever read any books on painting? And if so, what do you recommend? You had to ask. Do I read books on painting? I do from time to time. I don't know quite honestly that I have any that I really want to recommend. Well, I have a couple that I would recommend. I do. I've got. I'm looking over here at my stack of books. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, maybe 17 books on painting over there. I will admit that not all of them are new, but most of them are interesting. I'll, just like I do with paints and supplies in general at garage sales and whatnot. I'll find books here and pick them up. The one I really like, and I've had this book for a long time, and you can see it's gray, or it's yellowed a little bit. It's called the Watercolor Artist's Handbook. It's wire bound back here, and um, it's broken up into some nice different sections, and it's made to lay really flat. So you've got paper, you've got color, you've got effects that you can do. You've got how to do composition here, tinting, right? Then you've got a section on style and the different types of painters that have painted watercolors. All in all, I've had this book for 15 years. This is probably the first book I ever bought on watercolor painting. I bought this one new, and it used to be white. It's gotten quite yellow now, but this still, I have other books and I pick them up and I look at them and I read them, but this one I still come back to not all the time, but I'll come back to that one more than any other ones. Yeah, I don't know if, I'm gonna put a brush down before I touch this. Let me move this for a quick second. This is 2003. So maybe I've had it more than 15 years, or maybe that's it. I don't know. I don't know if there's another edition to it out there, but I liked it because, right, if you're doing something and you want to recreate this image, you're going to open it up totally flat, so you can see it and read it and recreate it, and then you don't have to worry about breaking the spine or anything like that. It's a lovely little book. Plus, it's small enough that if you want to just throw it in a backpack or something like that, cost me. Oh, it looks like it cost me $17 when it was brand new. Anyways, that's one of my favorites. If I had to recommend a book, I would recommend that one. Let's see. Natalie, your daughter's sister-in-law is Bridget Cromie, and she writes young adult fiction, Star of Hope, Freedom's Fire, and her latest is Crowns, which is an anthology of authors. Okay, cool. Well, there you go. There you go. Okay, let's see. What do I want to do? This is still wet. I don't want to do anything with that, but I do want to, while this is wet and I'm waiting for this to dry, and I don't want to get into this yet because it might touch here, I'm going to tackle this whole thing over here. I want to get some darks on that. You can see now there are a few lights. If you can see it in a reference photo, there are a few lights here. But basically, this whole thing over here is in shadow. And I'm going to put that in shadow like this. I guess I've grabbed a larger brush. Didn't necessarily mean to. But I'm gonna allow this to have some deeper shadow all the way over on this side. And then we'll pull some of this color out and up. So I'm not looking quite yet, Natalie, but did that answer your question? Not Natalie. I'm sorry, not Liza. Did that answer your question? I hope it did. I think it would have. If you need another book, I've got another book that I could use to answer the question with. It's probably the book I refer to second most of all. But I will say I've got some books that most people aren't going to ever see or use or do anything with. And I say that because they are ones that I have gotten from estate sales or library sales or thrift stores in some instances, those type of things. I actually have a couple that are Michael. No, I'm sorry. Zoltan Sabo. I have a couple of Zoltan Sabo books. How about that? That's a name for you. Zoltan Sabo. And Zoltan Sabo is a wonderful watercolor artist. I believe he's of Czech descent, and he came to this country and started painting watercolors and has some unbelievably beautiful watercolors and put out a number of books. But I don't think they're in print anymore. They were all published in the, I want to say, the early 80s. And they're just kind of not around anymore. You know what? I'm not going to put that little line on there. I know there's some lighter rocks there, but I'm not gonna put those on. And I'm gonna redarken my shadow area here. This is where I feel the need to work a little more quickly. I want to get this in while everything is wet. Let these colors run together just a little bit. Let's see. You guys said something. I'm gonna check it out in just a second. So there we go. That's a big shadow coming up here. I don't know if that even plays as a shadow on the valley floor. There, I kind of hope it does. I know it's what it is. I hope everybody else can see that that's what it is. Maybe if we even darken this a little bit more, that would help out. Maybe there's some lines up there. I'm trying to not take too much control and let the paint do what the paint is going to do. No, you're going to say that's kind of turning over a new leaf. Kind of is. There we go. So that's kind of all in shadow right there. I think when we get maybe some other shadows in here and you can start to see where they're at, maybe we'll get a little bit better with that. I'm gonna continue right on across here. I do need to get a little bit. Well, that's pink. It's not pink. It's Quiacridone Rose. That's pink enough. Okay, good. That's got a reddish tint to it. I'm going to continue across here, and we can see that there are some darker spots here for sure. Right, if it's a really deep dark spot, we can drop a little bit of that blue in there. If not, we can leave it. I probably have just a slightly too large brush, but leave some of that color in there. Let's see. Uh-oh. Going quiet while the husband and I play Connections. Sidika, you love the shadow color. Thank you. Thank you. somebody giving me some props and some feedback. Now I don't need it, but it is nice to get a little bit of reassurance that something looks okay. I'm just trying to drop in a little bit of color here and there. I don't want, got a string on here. I don't want this to get too dark. I want to keep some of this pretty light. I can let it get a little darker as it all comes down to the bottom. You agree, Liza, you agree. You agree that you like the shadow. I appreciate that. Sometimes, all done it. You try to do something. I thought this was going to turn out really kind of a cool way. So far, I like the little distant mountains back here. I don't know that this is turning out exactly the way I thought it was going to turn out. That's okay. So far, that's okay. I'm not concerned yet. We got a long way to go, and it's going to get there. I think what I'm going to do to make myself feel better, make everybody feel a little better, make it some little bolder color here. This will gray it down a little bit. There we go. I want to put some shadow over here too, kind of balance that out. Right, so if I'm looking at this, there's a shadow that comes down here. Right, this is part of it. This is all in shadow. Through here. Maybe as it comes down here a little bit, we can make this a little darker. How far out does that come? Further than that does it go? It does go on to this other rock over here. So let's do this. There's a slightly different color shadow over here. Right, and then if we darken up our underneath part under here, I think this is gonna help to set this off a little bit. Shadow here, shadow on a rock there and there. I'm not trying to get as specifically what the shadow is, but we know there are some shadows up there. Maybe that's a little darker on that side where that comes down. Wait a minute, who's crazy? I think one would have to be crazy to do this hike. That's funny. I had the conversation with my wife, and she said the same thing. And I said, "Are you kidding? This was one of the best hikes I've ever had." I actually tried to get my wife to go out here. Maybe that was a mistake. I don't know. She made it like 3/4 of the way out here. I was pretty impressed that she got as far as she did. On this hike. She doesn't like heights in any way, shape, or form, but she was determined to give it a try. She said she looked at this picture, just the reference photo before the stream. She said even that gave her vertigo. She didn't want any part of going out and doing this climb. I said but it was so much fun. To which I think she used a few expletives about how fun it was. But I'm going to give her a lot of credit. She didn't have to go out and try it, and she didn't have to do it, but she really did. Sherry, guy once climbed Devil's Head. That was 40 years ago. I feel blessed to make 2 blocks in your stage. Oh, come on. I'm sure that's not true. I climbed. Here's so I used to spend maybe not all my summer, but part of my summer in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. Has anybody ever been in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan? It's quite an interesting place. Drop down a brush size here. I don't know why I grabbed that giant brush. So the Upper Peninsula of Michigan is a lot of sand, a lot of logging, a lot of mining, that kind of stuff. Forestry is big up there. And they used to, in the mining industry, they used to cut down the trees and then roll them into the lakes and rivers and streams and whatnot and float them down to get them to the mills where they would cut them up and make whatever you make out of logs, right? Paper, pencils, furniture, whatever, right? Well, at some point they stopped using this one area, and it got turned into a park, which seems ridiculous. But it was this place called Devil's Slide, and it was about, I want to say it was 200 yards long. For all I know, really, it could have been 50. I was younger, and it seemed a lot bigger then, but it might not be quite that big. But it was a fairly sizable drop from the top of this kind of mesa area down to Lake Superior. And the idea was that the logs used to roll down there, but you could run down there or climb down there and then climb back up again, which is all well and good, except you'd get down to the bottom and turn around and look at this giant mountain of a place up there, and it would literally take you about 2 hours to climb back up it. I could never convince too many people in my family to do it with me. So we only went a couple of times, but it was I had a lot of fun on the Devil's Slide. So if you ever get there, I tried to see how quickly I could do it one time. I think I did it in about 40 minutes. My father, who stayed at the top, kind of timed me because he was like, "I'm not going down there. That's ridiculous." Okay. Yeah, you're right. That's why I'm doing it. Let's see. Ouch. Susie says, I visited Zion once. I don't remember Angel's Landing. The whole place was gorgeous. The whole place is gorgeous. All of it. I actually think if you go to the lodge, inside the park, then you can walk. You got to go down the road a little bit, but you can walk across the main street, the main road that everything goes up and down. There's really only one road that goes through the park, but you kind of go across the street and between. Well, let's see. I'm trying to remember. The Virgin River goes on the far side of the road, and you got to take a bridge over that, and then you kind of go in a slot canyon to the backside of one of these hills, And then from the back side of one of these hills, then you get on Walter's Wiggles and go up to the top of one, and then you kind of go through another slot canyon and you go up again, and that's where you come out kind of back here, and then this goes out to it. That's a terrible explanation. I think you can walk to it from the from the lodge there. I think is basically what I'm trying to say. Let's see. I'm going to just put some color on here that maybe I probably should have just put on before. Neglected to do. That's the far wall in our canyon. You can see our canyon kind of coming around here. And we'll get some, I'm going to add some, well, let's just do it right now. Let's not say what I'm going to do. Let's just do it. Let's see. Let's see. Sherry's going on 71. You won't get me to go on that hike. Come on. I'll do it with you. How's that? We'll go. We'll do it together. Take our time. It'll be fun. It'll be fun. And then we'll sit down and we'll do some watercolor painting. Right, we'll all kind of sit down and do some painting. It'll be a good day. Let's see, here's our kind of river just kind of meandering through here. Right through the gorge here. And I don't know if I want to do this. Are you sure you don't think so? Oh, come on. It'll be good. Okay, how about if we just do some water? How about if we just go and do some watercolor painting? Is that a better thing? Can we all agree to just do that? I want to get just some indication of some things down here on the canyon floor. We don't need to put too much down here, right? We're not looking for a whole lot of detail down there. Our detail is kind of up here, and this is where I want your eye to be drawn, anyways. Quite honestly, I'm a little reluctant to. I'm just gonna. Well, let me see. I'm just gonna put a little bit here. I want to. Just a little bit of separation here. Just a little bit of outline here and there. Maybe some little bit of negative painting. I'm going to put some distress marks on some of this anyways. These steps that are kind of going up here. But I need to differentiate kind of these different levels here. There's a level right down here. This is down below. This whole thing is down below. This kind of comes off like that. I actually wish, Sherry, you'll do your plein air painting on the canyon floor. I remember, I was just talking to my wife about it before this. I went out here one time, and it was cold. Let's just say that. And I got roughly to this area, and it started snowing, which probably was a bad sign to begin with, right? It started snowing, and by the time I got out to the end, which is way out here, I was frozen. I was absolutely frozen. I met some nice German tourists who were out there, who were quite nice enough to let me use their camp stove. warm myself up a little bit. They were doing the same thing. I got out there right in the middle of a snowstorm, and I kind of, I was younger at the time. Kind of didn't tell anybody. I went out there all by myself, which I probably shouldn't have done. And then I didn't tell anybody about it until well after I got back. Everybody got upset at me. I'm sorry. I'd probably still do the same thing. If I'm being honest, I probably would. Let's see. Liza, you need help painting two things: sunlight and fog. Okay? Um, Natalie, you heard it. Liza needs help painting fog. We're going to have to put off our combined painting group until summer, because here where I live, there's plenty of fog in the summer. It rolls in off of the ocean. Inland, it's really actually kind of funny. Inland, it'll be 10 degrees, 20 degrees. Oh, yeah, 20 degrees easily warmer than it is here, right next to the Pacific Ocean where I live. And the heat from inland pulls all of the cold air in, and this fog just kind of rolls right in off of the ocean. And so we get lots of foggy days in the summer. Now, having said that, Liza, doesn't mean I know how to paint fog. I actually tried to. Y'all know how who's the guy who did paint all the haystacks, right? Is that Van Gogh did all the haystacks? He tried to make a real effort to paint things in different lights in different seasons and whatnot, just to force himself to see what the difference was. I tried to do a similar thing. It turned out interesting, nothing like what I thought it was going to turn out. And sometimes that's the best way to find something interesting. But I tried to paint, the big rock we have here in morning light. I tried to paint it in evening light. I tried to paint it in bright sunshine. I tried to paint it in fog. And what happened is the fog. Let's see if I don't think I think I took the pictures to work. They're on my desk at work. The pictures came out interesting in that the fog ones I tried to put like a gray mist on, and some areas I tried to lift off a little bit, like where there was a finger of thicker fog. And I don't think it worked quite the way I wanted it to. It was an interesting kind of effect for sure, but not quite what I thought it was going to be. Would be an interesting study. Liza, okay, I'm with you. Maybe that's a study that we can all do, is trying to figure out how to paint some fog. Might be worthwhile. It's could be kind of an interesting thing to do. Connections was tricky, but he got done with teamwork. Don't you love it when you meet people who want to help you? Let's see. Yeah. Oh, yes. Oh, Natalie's back. Okay. Yes. Love to meet people who want to help. I actually try to be. I actually had a conversation with my team today about being the team that does the most to help. interesting conversation. Siddiqui, I like how you think. Let's see, Liza and Sherry, here's how I see it. I have more of my life behind me than ahead of me, so I'm not into anything that's going to stress me out. That's good. I like that. Summer's good time to get away from Phoenix. Oh, Natalie, if you're coming in summer, bring a hoodie. Bring two of them. It's it's cold here. I'm Michael. You know, I always post my struggles. Green was one of them. Now I'm into other struggles. Oh, it's all good. I was looking at the mist on the mountains this week. A beautiful lake. The scenery was changing minute to minute. The colors, like the temperature. What a time we had at the lake. That sounds beautiful. I like it. I really like it. I might try to paint it. I've got lots of pictures. It's looking good. Oh, hello, Bicycle Repairman. Welcome. Yeah, it's funny because, you know, now counting myself as a native here, when I'm walking around in the summertime here, I can always tell who the tourists are because I'll have on a pair of shorts and a tank top and it'll be 60 degrees, or a t-shirt or whatever. It'll be 60 degrees and I'll be like, whoo, man, it's hot at 65. 65, I'm sweating. And everybody else will be all huddled up like, ooh. I'm like, oh, you came from out of town. Because it does. It gets cool here. For sure it does. Let's see, I'm going to try to give a little mountainy color here. I don't know, something like this. I'm not wild about the way I've got a hard line here, but maybe that's not so bad. You can definitely see the canyon coming around and through here. Really, I need something right here to block that off, but we'll figure that out. I think what I need to do now, whoops. I've got a lot of this kind of the way I want it. What I need to do is start adding little details here and there, right? This kind of comes around. Maybe there's a little bit of a ledge here or here, right? We're still gonna have to handle this side over here too. I realize that. I just haven't worked my way back over there yet. We're going to get to it. Let's see. It's too red. It's too red. I need a little less red than that. I do kind of like the way this is turning out. It's totally a stylized look, but I'm rather enjoying it. Let's see. You should go to Cold and Rain in Gold Canyon. Husband said they had sleet in the mesa today. We had rain today. It's raining right now. I don't know if you can hear it. Here it's raining again right now. I should go to Edmonton, Alberta. I'm assuming. This is perception in shorts had 25. I've had enough rain for a while. I don't know why all of a sudden I'm anti-rain. I love the rain. I just think that I want the rain in like small blocks, right? Can I get the rain in, I don't know, half an inch increments? Half an inch at a time ought to be plenty. I don't need, like we've gotten, like Saturday we got 4 inches. It was horrible. 4 inches of rain and 253, something like that. I know I'm complaining. Other people are having snow in 35. I'm complaining about being in the 50s. I get it. I get it. But it's a matter of perception. Here in Chicago, people jog by the lake if the temperature reaches 30 to 35. I will say, you know, I grew up, it was cold, whatever, right? I remember I was on the winter track team, right? So take that for what that's worth. We would run outside in, you know, just shorts, whatever. It would be 30 degrees. I, I lived in I lived in Grand Rapids, Michigan for a little while. I remember remember going out to run a couple of nights, and I wore I wore a hat to keep my head from totally free, or more to keep my ears from totally freezing. Really, I wore a hat and went out one night. It was really snowing. Slipped a couple of times, which is fine. You know, whatever. And I got home. Had like 3 inches of snow on the top of my head. I'm like, where I don't remember that coming down like that. That was kind of funny. It was kind of funny. Oh, let's see. Got a few. Let's see if I can do this with any kind of ability here. Darker areas here. I'm just going to kind of, I don't want anything specific over there. Oh, I actually think that's pretty good. Should probably do a little bit of that here, huh? A little a step. Something. I need a little, this is too warm back there. This needs to be cooler. Put a little dab of blue in to cool that down. That'll hopefully push that way back. Let's see. It's the endless rain that bugs me. Thank you, Renee. I agree with you. Susie, you thought California was always short on water. We have been for the past 10 years. We were. We decided to get all of our water in one weekend. I don't know why we decided to do that. We seem to have decided to do that. Actually, I'll say that it's kind of amazing. Since I've lived where I'm at, we have a creek. The town has the same name as the town here, right? And this past year, right, we got quite a bit of rain and snow last year. That's the first time since I've lived in this town that I remember that creek running year round. All the other time it would dry up in the summer. So this past year is the only time that's really happened, and I'm actually pretty happy about that. Having said that, having said that, I would totally be okay if we could stretch out our rain a little bit. Michael, have you ever thought about leading a group somewhere to paint? I have, and I'm not opposed to it. I haven't done it. I'm not opposed to it. But I don't know that locally I could get that many people out to do it. That's my only trepidation. I used to paint with a group at the university that I work at, and we would go out during lunch and do some watercolor painting. So that was kind of cool. QQQ, when you finish the painting, I'd be curious to know what you would do different. Were you painting plein air? I'm happy to tell you that. I could probably tell you that now. I'm happy to talk about that. I think that. So who asked that? Natalie. Natalie. I'm all about, and I do it. I think I do it at the end of every stream here, I try to, you know, talk about the goods and the bads. So I'm totally happy to talk about the things that maybe I would do differently, better. I don't know, better, just differently, I guess maybe is the way I would say it. I totally don't have a problem with that. When we're done here, let's talk about it. We'll see, maybe there's something that would go slightly differently. I'm going to push this back a little bit, just a tiny bit of blue here. I actually think it would be kind of a fun thing to do, to take a group out and paint locally. Guillermo is here. Hi, Guillermo from Chicago. Do you use neutral tint to mix in with colors, and do you use any tissue to lighten hard lines? I do. Well, so let me do this. I got water everywhere. Guillermo, that's a great question. Oh, I don't know if you can see it. Oh, it's white on white. So right down here are all of the colors in my palette. And right, I started up here with blues and greens, neutrals, purple, reds, going to oranges and yellows. This, now I've got it on my my brush. This is neutral tint. I love neutral tint. I was turned on to neutral tint by a watercolor artist on YouTube here by the name of Tim Wilmot. He uses neutral tint quite a bit in his paintings, and I kind of went, well, that's weird. I don't use neutral tint. Maybe I should look to see, you know, kind of what's going on with neutral tint, and maybe I can find a place for it on my own. And I kind of worked it into those, the rotation. I tried it out. I had a small tube. I tried it out. I liked it, and so I put it on my palette. I wouldn't say I use it just to mix in with my paints for changing the tint so much, even though it, you know, by nature it should be fairly neutral. I mean, thus the name, neutral tint, right? I use it more when I'm mixing neutrals, right? If I want a gray and I want it just so, I'll make my gray, and then if I want to tint it a little bit with that neutral tint, then I'll use that maybe a little bit more than just say I want to change the color of my red a little bit and throw it in there. Although I guess I have done that from time to time. I'm not opposed to it. I don't know. I don't know. Everybody else here could probably answer that maybe a little better than I do. I might think I use colors slightly differently than I do. Like I'm too close to the situation or something like that. I don't know. Let's see. Careful with this group. This group. Hang around long enough and you'll be going out to buy new paints every week. Hang around long enough and you'll be going out to buy new paints every week. That's true. That's absolutely true. Guillermo, be careful. That's true. We talk paint and color quite a bit, and if you're not careful, then yep, you'll get hooked and you'll go, oh, Eliza said this is going to be great. Natalie said that'll be wonderful. I don't know. Renee said this is what she uses, and then you're going to go, can I go out and get that? Would that make sense for me to to try that color a little bit, and then before you know it, you're gonna have 40 different colors, and you'll be going, what did I get myself into? I don't know. Let's see. Trying to give this a little better line on that shadow over there. That was bothering me a little bit. Pull that up. All right. Something like that. It's in shadow over there. We drop a little blue in there just to tone it down a little bit. I do like neutral tint for shadows. I do like that. I think that's really a good thing to do. Okay, this is bothering me on this side over here. I told you we needed something over here. I'm going to put it on right over here, and I'm just going to kind of be bold and be brave. Tell myself it's going to be okay. And right there. Come on, give me... It needs something. Doesn't have to have a shape, but it's got to bound to that corner, right? Perfect. Okay, I got a couple of things to do as I'm looking at this. I don't think I have quite enough definition in my steps here, so I'm going to put just a little bit more in my steps. Of course, a little definition in there. Maybe an additional one right here. Just so we can see that there's something there. I actually really like the actual mountain here. I think that's looking really good. I'm looking at to see if there's anything else I really want to do to this. I'm not sure there's too much. I'm going to let it dry, and I'm going to think for a second here. So it's a lot of this. It's a little more pink than I would have wanted, but it's funny. I look here. If you ever if you ever do paintings of your own and you're videotaping them, it's really curious to look at the monitor and see what they look like, and then look here and see what they look like, because they're not always the same thing. Let's see, Renee. Okay, I missed the whole string. Watercolor is addictive. Liza says, Sherry, I'm a junkie. Renee, there are worse things to be addicted to. Let's see. Sherry, you stopped buying new colors. Let's just replace what runs out. Yeah, I've kind of stopped buying new colors. It's hard not to continue to buy them, but always new tools. At some point, you have to find your go-to paints and go-to brushes and go-to paper. I got some new Hake brushes. How about that? Actually, I didn't want to get these, but I had to, on Amazon, I had to spend like $1 more or $2 more to save $4 or $5 or something like that. So I bought some brushes, a whole set of them. It's the weirdest thing. I don't understand how that all plays out, but that's okay. You know what I'm gonna do? You know what we need to do? Oh, silly me. My paints are running all over the place. I'm gonna sop some of these up. We have the chains here. Yeah, chains. Okay, so I'm just going to dip into my black. And you're right, I don't always use black. But I think for this instance, it's going to work. Since they are definitely painted, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do something a little different. How about this? I've got, oops, this one will work. I've got a flat brush. Liza, you're saying I have a gazillion paints. I do have a gazillion paints. And that's why I put myself on paint restriction, so I don't continue to buy extra paints. Don't ask me how many I have because I don't know. But I have, see, I have a travel set in my car. I have a set. This was going to work better than that. I have a set literally in a backpack over here. I have a set in a satchel that I take with me from time to time. I have, did I say I have a set in my car? I have a set in my car. See, in my car, in my office. At the current moment, I have one in my closet. Probably got more sets over here. Well, I'm sure I've got more sets over here because I've got a Mission set. I've got a Daniel Smith set. I've got a Winsor Newton set. I've got a basic colors set, right? Just the primaries. I've got 2 or 3 or 4 sets of custom palettes, little 12 pan ones. I've got, oh, I don't know. I've got too many. I've got too many. Let's see. Renee, they remind you of the Princeton snap brushes. What? I have a set of them too. What are we talking about? My 2.5-year-old grandson started to paint a scent IKEA chunky paintbrushes. That's awesome. You have a set of these. Oh, is this what we're talking about? These brushes, these Hake brushes for goat hair. That is really soft. Brushes. Oh man, I got so many brushes. I don't even know what to do with all my brushes. Natalie, you love making custom palettes. I do too. I will take painstaking time to make one of these for each, and I put it in there. And I open it up, and I can see exactly what paints are in which set. It's lovely. I love doing that. I really do. Okay, I'm going to look at this now and try to figure out what, if anything, I need to do. And I don't know that I need to do too much with this. If I were to do anything, I would take some of this paint that I just got rid of, and I would scuff up some of these rocks here. Right, a little bit of dry brush. Oh, my bristles are falling out here. Maybe I've learned a few dry brush techniques. I don't know. These are just random rocks back there. Right, This comes down. Let's just show some size on that. I don't know, probably something like that. I could take my little tiny brush here. I can do it in black probably. And if I really wanted to, whoops, come on. Give me some paint on there. You can do it. Oh, I could like, this is a pine tree here. Could put a couple of branches on here, some sticks and twigs coming out in any darker color really. It doesn't, I don't think it really matters a whole lot. Right, some little branches coming out here and there. Sticks and twigs. And I think that's about it. That's probably about how I would do that. All right. How many people do this hike each year? I don't know. 50 to 100,000? I don't know. It's a lot. I know that when each time I've been out there, other than the time it snowed, I'll bet you I passed, I don't know, 40 or 50 people on the way out there and back. And you get to this point here before you start heading out, and lots of people will come to this point. There's a huge number of people that'll come to here. It's just that last, I don't know what that is, a half mile or so out there is really, that's really tough. Okay. I think I'm going to call it here. I think, let's see. Yeah, I would be at the bottom handing out water. I think I'm going to stop here. I think this is a good place. I think for where I went with this, I'm not going to get too much more out of it. I think if I did this differently, what I would do is I would probably do these mountains back here, mostly the same. I think I would probably try to get maybe a little bit more detail in these. This is what I'm calling the middle ground in here. I might actually even make these quite a bit darker. Oops, let me get my hands out of the way. Probably make these quite a bit darker if I were to do it again. I really like this main area here. This, I don't know what you call this mountain. The trail actually goes right up over the ridge here. I think this looks really good. When I saw this picture and when I started drawing this, I really like this because you've got these stacked areas and this chain that goes out. The whole thing leads your eye right up to this area. So without thinking about it, your eye's going to drift right up to here. It's got this nice symmetry, this nice roundness. Symmetry maybe is not the right word to it here. It's all going to lead you right up to here. And so I wanted this to look nice, and I really like the way this looks up here. This, I think, is where your eye should end up. You might get your eye might get stuck in this area, and I think that's okay. There's some interest in this rock here and on these steps, but the addition of the chain definitely sends your eye over to here, and I like that. I kind of like, the whole thing to me outside of this area, right, is supposed to be blurry, right? It's out of focus. This is where your eye should go. It should be drawn. And so I like that there's little bits of things out here. You can kind of see the river going down here, but there's not a whole lot of detail here. Like I said, maybe this could have been a bit darker, maybe not. I drew this bit on, right? There's kind of a ledge there from the reference photo, if you can see it. I'm not sure that I got this exactly right, but I do like this dark area here. Without it, this this valley floor just kind of extended off into nothing. I put that on there. That's a stopper, and your eye won't go any further. You don't look any further. It doesn't matter that this is nothing. Your eye doesn't go any further, and it gives it a little context that this is, because this is has more intensity, right? More saturation. This is a lot closer to you, and it definitely pushes that way back. This now looks like it's way, way back there. The only thing I wish for any of this is that I had put, you know, like maybe climbing up here or something, a person for scale, right? It's kind of done with a little bit of a fisheye lens. And so you don't know exactly how tall these posts are, but if you were to see a person, maybe somebody way out here, right? Maybe the same height as that or a little taller than that, something, it just would have given a little scale, might have helped it out a lot, or a little. All in all, I'm not disappointed in it. I think I could have done this shadow line over here a little better, or maybe not made this step and this step and this step so much in line. I don't know if I look at the reference photo, maybe they're not quite in line. I probably could have pulled one or two of these out here to make them look a little more steppy and not more singular. Maybe that would really help if this had come out wider and that been a little different shape. I think if I were to do it over, maybe I would change that. I'm sure I would change that if I were to do this over again. If I were to do this plein air, what would I do differently? That's a good question. Let's see. Sherry says you're happy. I'm not hung up on the photo. I try not to get too. I try to use the reference photo as just a general reference. It's going to give me the shape of things, and it's going to set the tone in many instances, but I don't want to be a slave to it. I've never tried to be a slave to a reference photo. Not what I want to do. Let's see. Liza says, you can't see yourself there, so you nailed it. I don't know. I tried. If I were doing this plein air, well, I can tell you one thing I wouldn't do. Whoever took this picture was standing up, so you would have a different angle. This whole stack here would be higher up. It'd probably be up to here, and relatively speaking, this would be lower. But I don't think there's too much I would do different. I think they're in the house. I should show you some of my plein air paintings, and they're much more like this than like I do my birds or other things, right? It's a little looser, a little more impressionistic, a little more where you want to step back a foot or two or three or four to take it all in, and maybe not pick so many nits at little details. But all in all, I'm pretty happy with this. Before I'm done with this, let me sign this. I'm going to sign it right here. I'll put it on the rock a little sideways. Maybe it looks like a little bit of graffiti there or something. I don't know. You would probably rush doing it in plein air because the light keeps changing. I might. I don't. Yeah. Because I don't try to paint exactly what the light shows you. I don't have that problem so much. I try to get into the shade when I do plein air painting, because being in the sun, your paper dries out really quickly, or it does here anyways. It's like super fast, and then you've got a lot of hard edges. you got to work a lot faster sometimes. But those are all workable things. I don't know what we're going to paint next week. I'll find out. I'll probably post it. If you want this reference photo, it's in Discord. If you want to go there and grab that. Remember, all of you, the challenge is up in Discord for the month of February. It is Amethyst, and the last Wednesday in this month, last Wednesday in February, I will be doing my Amethyst painting. It'll be a ring, I believe. I'm going to be painting a ring. That'll probably be quite a bit tighter of a drawing rather than something a little looser like this. That's all I've got for you this evening, though. We've been going on, oh my lord, for an hour and 50. Wow. Thank you all for hanging out with me. Oh, Natalie. That's a great question. Hang on, I'm going to write that down. I forgot. I have the picture you sent me. So maybe we'll do that. Is to do the steer, the longhorn cow, whatever that you sent me, which is a fantastic photo. I have that. How do I get onto Discord? It's a separate app that you'll have to download and install. You'll have to register for it. There's a link down below. Should work. Fingers crossed. Should work. If not, there's one in a link to it in the community section on YouTube here. And I know I just put a new link to it on my website. Because I just made a couple of updates over there, watercolorswithmichael.com. You can go there and get to it. So lots of things, lots of ways you can get to it. I just want to say thank you all for making my Wednesday night enjoyable. Liza, Sudike, Natalie, Sherry, Renee, Guillermo, who else was in here? Susie, did I say Susie? I don't know. Bicycle Repairman was here for a little while, I believe. Thank you so much for helping to make my Wednesday evening so enjoyable. I hope you will join me back next week, and I will post in the community channel on Monday what we're going to do. Until then, have a great rest of your week. Have a great weekend, and see ya. Bye.